Thank you so much for joining us here on Who's Next with Derrion Henderson. Again, I am your host, Derrion Henderson, obviously. And on this episode, we are at the Salt and Detox Oasis in Myrtle Beach. This is where we decided to host this one. It's a special place. You should definitely come check it out. It's at 3885 Renee Drive. Let me tell you, it's a place you definitely want to come check out and, just detox a little bit, come into one. You're going to learn more about them on WNBFnews.com. But for this episode, we're highlighting mental health awareness, right? So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's something that a lot of people are talking about now, be that at your jobs, socially, just everywhere. It's a hot button issue, but we want to take the conversation just a little bit deeper. And I felt, there's one woman definitely here in Myrtle Beach that I just had to talk to, right? If you probably don't know who she is, you've definitely seen her before. Let me tell you, she's big in the world of counseling here, and she knows her stuff. She knows what she's talking about, but she has a story to tell as well. And I can't wait to introduce you to her, but also learn a little bit more about her as well, because there's a lot of some stuff that we're definitely going to be asking her about. She's definitely a mover and shaker in Myrtle Beach, and I'm not only talking about on the dance floor, I'm talking about also in the community. So let's get it clapping up. Let's give a hand for Dr. Jessica Greene. Woo! Yeah, Dr. Jessica Greene. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
You listen, we're going to have a great conversation because I feel as if before I even met you, I saw you at multiple locations. I'm like, this lady is everywhere. What's going on? But you're involved in so many different organizations. I feel we should just tell the people just right up top, like kind of what you're involved in, right? So we're talking about, you're on the board of directors, right, for the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You're also with the Spadoni College of Education Social Services. You're on that board of directors too, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then you're also a chairwoman of Leadership Grand Strand, right? Mm-hmm. And Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. A soror of Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And then also you're in the Junior League of Grand Strand as well?
Yes.
That's a lot.
A lot of hats.
A lot of hats. When do you eat?
I eat in proportions, managing what you eat, how you eat it to make sure you stay healthy.
Got you. So when you turn off the Zoom camera, that's when you go ahead and
waiting
check.
on me. Yeah. Sitting there waiting on me with a spoon, a fork, or using my fingers. One out of the three.
One out of three. Probably in your car too, you would think so, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's something you do not want to see inside at the moment.
Yeah. But a lot of times when you are part of all these different organizations, a lot of them have breakfasts and lunch and things of that nature too. So, sometimes it's good being involved with so much stuff because you get to kind of chill a little bit, right?
It is.
All right. So we're going to get into all of that because we got so much to talk about. I'm really excited for this conversation. I really am. I was talking to you a couple weeks before we even got to this conversation. I'm like, listen, it's a lot. And then when I talked to you, we had our one-on-one. I'm like, man, this lady has a story to tell. So let's take it all the way back. We're telling what you're doing right now, but let's take it all the way back. So you were born and raised right here in South Carolina, in Sumter, correct?
Yes, in Sumter, South Carolina. Born and raised, attended church every Sunday, Wednesdays. You know how that is with your parents in church. On every organization at church.
Yeah.
But yes, born and raised in Sumter.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
hometown. You're a twin too, right?
I have a twin sister.
Yeah, and you have quite the story too of like your mom finding out because you said your mom was pregnant with you out in Germany, right?
Correct. So my father was in the military,
okay,
and my mom found out she was having twins, and that's a strange story because whenever my mom came over to the States, my grandmother, her mother told her, she said, it's either something wrong with you or something wrong with that baby because you are really, really big. So my mom went to Short Air Force Base, which is in Sumter, South Carolina, and the doctor told her, I have good news and I have bad news. He said, which one would you like first? She said, give me the bad news first. Well, the bad news is there are two of them, but the good news is they're both healthy. And my mom found out 2 weeks before she had us. And she said she cried the entire 2 weeks because if you think about it, we have one of everything.
Yeah.
One crib, one car seat, one name, one everything.
Yeah.
So she really had to put it in motion before we were born.
Yeah, because by that time you have like the baby shower and if you choose to have that, you've been in already had that. People giving you the gifts they're going to give you. Now you got to tell them, hey, can you go out and get one more?
Children with multiple births, they take them early.
Yeah.
But for us, there was no wiggle room. So she carried us full term.
Full term. Because there's always like, sadly, a little bit of complications when you're dealing with twins and things of that nature. And here y'all are.
Here we are.
3 minutes apart, huh?
3 minutes apart. I'm the oldest. Let me make that clear.
You're the
I'm
oldest?
the oldest by 3 minutes.
I feel like a lot of twins make it known, like really, really known.
Yes.
Who's the oldest? Who's the one who's a little bit younger? And
Very
everything of that
territorial.
nature.
Those 3 minutes mean a lot. Because we're the third child. You know, people ask my mom, when she visits her medical appointments, how many kids do you have? 4. How many births have you had? 3. So they kind of give her that look, and then they realize, okay, there must be, a multiple birth year somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would like to move on to our mental matter segment of, and it's coming a little bit early because normally we have a little bit later on within our podcast here, but I want to bring a little bit early because the next thing that happened to you, even at a very young age, you lost your father, right?
I did. At the young age of 15 months, my father was stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia. And the pilot and my father was a crew chief at the time, were test flying an airplane. And it was foggy, and the aircraft crashed in the mountains. And the pilot was able to eject, but my father passed away on impact. So even if you think about Kobe Bryant in that situation, a lot of people did not know. So when those videos were on social media, they were sending it to me. But for me, that was a trigger because that's the same way my father passed away. And they were showing the debris from the helicopter, the bodies that were on the ground. So that was definitely a trigger. But with my father's death, being that he died active duty, my twin sister and I and my brothers were able to attend school in the GI Bill. So with my father, he might have died in the military, but I call it collateral beauty because even though he died active duty, and we're definitely sorry for his loss, but they gave us an opportunity to be able to grow and flourish. So for him, okay, I'm allowing you and giving you this opportunity to start with your undergraduate degree, but it's up to you how far you take and how far you go with it. So with me, my mother and my father became my reason why. My father, because he gave me the opportunity with the GI Bill, and with my mother, because she was so strong. And my mother is a woman that people respect, admire, and look up to. She's a powerful force, and she's my go-to person as well. So they both became my reason why I continued to further my degree and earn my doctorate degree. Absolutely.
Because that's really hard. I was even expressed to you before, I lost my dad when I was 12 years old, 7 days before I turned 13. And that's difficult. It's really difficult, like being young. And you were even younger, like 15 months. Growing up, did you feel as if in a way that I guess you were maybe cheated out of that, having that connection with like your father?
You feel cheated having that connection without having your father, but at the same time, you have those memories. So it allows you to continue to have compassion and continue that legacy for him, and not only for him, but my mother. And we were at a young age as well. Julie and I were 15 months, and Bobby and Norma were 9 and 11. And for us and for them, it was definitely hard because when my mom would take us to child development, she would drop us off, and we would have issues because we wouldn't think mom was coming back because dad left and dad never came back.
It's like a sense of abandonment.
A sense of abandonment. And when my father used to always come home, my twin sister and I would always take his boots off because with the Army boots, it takes you about 10, 15 minutes just to get those off. So that was a moment that we shared with him, but just remembering those memories and the beauty that came out of it. My twin sister, Julie Greene Long, my 2 older brothers, and then his grandchildren.
And you just like you were saying, just hold on to it, right?
Yes,
and
hold on to it.
And you said you went through counseling too.
Absolutely. We all did, just because that adjustment period and not understanding, and us wanting to be with dad, but not understanding completely where he is. So we all went through counseling, the adjustment, my brothers, the depression, as far as my sister and I not being able to sleep because we would have nightmares.
I definitely feel that because, there was even an adjustment, after my dad passed away. My brother was having troubles in school. I felt since just being lost. You know what I mean?
And
Where
you're
it's like
angry.
you're angry. You have so many feelings. And personally, I wasn't. I never went to counseling or anything of that nature for that. But I could just imagine how during that time, how counseling would have been such a great resource to have. You know what I mean? Because I think some parents, maybe don't think about it. You know what I mean? Especially, I feel as if my mom, who was also going through, I think, just the realization of now you're a single mother, and you have to process that, better yet, process also the trauma that your children are also dealing with as well. Where I think it's just so much, just layers on layers on layers on layers on layers. It could get really hard, right?
It can get really hard, and especially with the layers, and you have the expectation of a parent. You have the expectation of a mother, a father, being involved in the community. So you wear many hats. Yeah. But how do you wear those hats? Yeah. And how do you wear them to the best of your ability so it's not taking over you? And remembering that, in order to help people, we have to pour into our cup. We can't pour into everyone else's cup and have an empty cup for us, or we have that hole on the bottom where we're pouring in and giving everything we have, but it's just falling through. Yeah. So it's so important that you do take care of yourself in that sense of community. Yeah.
What I found joy in, like over just the years, is that just those little small moments of coming back, of knowing that, he's always there. So like even when I graduated high school on his birthday. Like just little small stuff like that. Like it just happens, and I remember crying like at my high school graduation. People are like, "What are you crying for?" I'm like, "Man, I can't even start to tell you." You know what I mean? Just because like it meant so much more deeper than just I'm graduating. Like, oh, it's my dad's birthday and I'm graduating. So it's like I feel your presence here. You know what I mean?
Yes, and when we have those celebrations, we have his favorite dish there. Yeah. Or during Christmas time, we continue to have ornaments of the things that he likes. Like my father loved Camaros. That was his go-to, his red Camaro that he would have parked in my grandmother's backyard.
I like Camaros too.
Yes. So that, those are one of his vehicles. So just remembering him and what he continues to bring to the table, because you'll get to a moment too, when you talk about, when I talk about my father, when I talk about my middle brother, Norman, who passed away a couple of years ago, when you're able to talk about them and you can talk about them and get excited and find that joy, you begin to find peace.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a personal healing process as well that you have to go through. Like a personal, like, I guess, counseling session, because I guess we see a lot of counseling and things of that nature as talking to someone and getting it out, where sometimes it could be within as well. I know even for myself as well, writing my book, my memoir was like very therapeutic. So I feel as if you have to just find it, because a lot of people came to me afterwards and was like, what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? I'm like, maybe counseling is for you. So I feel as if we all kind of deal with our own. As you went into your adulthood, how have you started to like kind of even still cope with it and deal with it?
Well, it comes in waves, and that's one thing about grief. It never goes away. We just learn, and we just learn how to manage it. Mm-hmm. And I like to use the analogy, it comes in waves. Sometimes those waves are calm, and then sometimes those waves come in with a bang. But it's how we manage it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done well for yourself. So I'd definitely be happy for you. And like you said, collateral beauty, though. Can we go back to that for like just 1 second? Where did you come up with that, I guess, that saying?
I came up with that saying, or I like that saying, because when my father passed away and when my brother passed away, it definitely hit us hard because it took us back. We're losing another close, immediate family member. Right. Yeah. So when we look at collateral beauty, the collateral part is my father passed away unexpectedly. He was 36 years old, between 36 and 38 when he passed away. Mm-hmm. That's a really young age. Yeah. So when I was at that age, I was thinking about my mother, having 4 kids and having to do this by herself. And at that time, we did not have the many resources that we have now. Yeah. So she really had to be a fighter. So when we look at collateral beauty, yes, the collateral is my father passed away. The collateral is my brother passed away. But look at all those beautiful things that came out of it. Yeah. My beautiful sister-in-law, my nieces and nephews, and my mother's and my father's grandchildren. So it's important we continue that legacy, because legacy is extremely important to me. People who know me know I love family. And when they see me with my twin sister's sons, they always say, "Oh, those are your kids," because they know they're my heart too, and I enjoy spending time with them.
Yeah.
But that's that collateral beauty, not forgetting my father, not forgetting my brother, but continuing that legacy in them. Any family traditions and family values that we have, continue that legacy through them.
I remember you saying that your mom and dad is your inspiration. So is that the reason why you're involved in so many organizations to, constantly keep that drive up and keep that, keep him happy and also her happy as well?
Yes, to a limit, because my
Yeah.
mom would tell you, all right, Jessica, let's wind it on down a little bit. But when my sister and I ran track at the high school, my mom was always involved.
Yeah.
She was involved either at the track meets and concession stands selling, or selling those coupons for the donuts, or Girl Scout cookies. She's always been involved in the community. So for us, that's, again, a legacy piece. How can we become involved in our community? How can we make a difference? Because with my mom, her goal was to make a difference in her community. But for us to allow us to see, too, that it's possible. You can be whoever you want to be and not allow anyone or anything come into that arena to stop you. So allowing yourself to build connections with those resources through your involvement in the community, getting your face out in the community. So if there is a situation or circumstance going on, hey, let's try giving XYZ a call. But at the same breath, continue to have compassion, putting yourself in others' shoes in a way, understanding their world through their lens.
Absolutely. And you went to track and field too, to kind of help you out with that too, because we find it, also to help sometimes within our own family, but then also externally as well in places you just never imagine, right? And you said it was your track coach that really inspired you to go into counseling and things of that nature, right?
Absolutely. My high school track and field coach, Coach Carr Baker, who's still in Sumter County, going strong, still participating with track and field as well.
Really?
Yes. He's a facilitator for a lot of the invitationals. But he was definitely influential. And for me, we have our school counselor that's in the school setting. I've been in that world for 14 years, so I understand and get it.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more my track coach who facilitated as far as college applications, FAFSA, recruitments. He's the one that definitely facilitated those opportunities for me that was able to propel me to the next level. So for myself, it was definitely my track coach who was influential in my career goal.
Which then you went on to Coastal, right?
I went on to Coastal.
Yeah.
I did, and my sister and I ran track at Coastal, and it was a package deal. So,
Package deal.
Yes, you could not get in with one without the other. It was a package deal.
Like through the school, or was like in y'all family and y'all mind? Like you taking both of us?
All the above. You're taking both of us. You cannot get one without the other. So we chose Coastal Carolina University, where we ran track and field, and we attended on athletic and academic scholarship.
Okay. Did you enjoy that? Like was it like a lot of relief like while you was in school?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And actually, when I initially attended Coastal, I was an early childhood education major, and I completed my first internship at an elementary school. And when I left, I decided that was not the career choice for myself, but I still wanted to help. I still wanted to be involved with children in a school setting. So I changed my major to sociology. Okay. And then I graduated with a degree in sociology.
Gotcha. So after that, you went on to, I believe, work for Horry County for about 14 years, right?
Yes.
So you went to work with kids.
Work with kids. Not technically in the classroom.
Gotcha.
The social, emotional learning, facilitating conversations about college expectations, allowing them to reach their full potential.
Gotcha. What are those teachers that like, not teachers, but like those counselors that come to the classroom, hey, can I get such and such? Come out and they kind of work with them on like a one-on-one type of basis?
Yes.
Gotcha. So you found joy in that other than staying in the classroom?
Yes. Let's talk about those careers. Yes.
It was pretty good for you. So how did you navigate that, realizing for yourself that was what you want to do, but still wanting to give back at the same time?
In the school setting, I definitely wanted to continue to give back. And through working with Horry County Schools, I learned so much when it comes to education, when it comes to social emotional learning, when it comes to our students, realizing it's not, who you are now, but It's what we're going to do and what we have planned for the future. So through working for the school district, I wanted to give back and give more. I felt like I was a little limited to what I can do. I wanted to expand it a little bit. So I decided to go into private practice. I took that leap, and it's the best move I have ever made. I continue to build and have those relationships with the counselors and the principals with Horry County Schools, but I'm glad I made that leap.
Make that leap. I got you. And you said you work with over like 1,000 kids too. So I mean, that's touching a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of kids.
And even now, kind of what's like your kind of workload like looking like?
Right now, I try not to go over no more than 35, 40.
Gotcha.
But when we get over there,
bring that down a little
bring
bit.
it down a little bit. I can hear my mom. All right, Jessica, let's wean it back a little bit. But yes, that's generally my caseload.
But I'm pretty sure it goes more into like the quality of like that personal, relationship you could have with them too, other than having like a huge caseload of like kids. Being able to really like, impact them more, having that lighter caseload.
Yes, it's a lot of personalization because we have that one-on-one time. It's not interrupted. Unlike in a school setting, generally you have so much time because we're already taking them out of that educational classroom setting. Yeah. So you have to limit the time that you spend with them. But in private practice, we have the opportunity to be able to talk about, things that's going on now. Triggers that affect their ability to learn, things that affect their ability to connect, their thoughts, their emotions, and their behaviors. So through private practice, we have definitely that more one-on-one session, but it's just us with no distractions.
Yeah. What's one inspirational story that you potentially have from like one of the students that you've worked with? Do you have one?
Sure. I would say one of inspirational story that I've had with a client is a person who might have had some suicidal ideations, but not realizing their strengths, their self-esteem. They worried more about that perception of others, worried about that sense of fitting in versus belonging. And whenever you have that sense of belonging, you can truly be your true, authentic self, but it's just finding that. And I love to use the analogy of I want my clients to move from being that caterpillar, but turning into that beautiful butterfly with all those vibrant colors.
And sometimes it is just talking to people, right? And having those resources. It probably goes really, really far. And I'm pretty sure on your side, from that first conversation to that last conversation, you see it. It probably just brings so much joy to your heart, right?
You see it because a lot of times they do not see it because they're in the moment. Yeah. But someone looking on the outside, we see that beautiful light shining behind them, and sometimes they don't see it. So as therapists, it's our job to be able to pull that out of them because they're already coming to the office with that sense of shame, that sense of bias, that preconceived notion of what counseling is. And once they have that first session, it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be. They actually enjoy it and want to come back and want to hear what's next.
But it's a different world kids are living in now. I mean, you got TikToks, you got the Instagrams, you got the Facebooks, the Twitters, like it is a whole lot, just being kind of thrown at them, better yet, the Snapchats, better yet than, the beauty standards that they have to go through as well, and like all the apps that change your face and change your look and all that good stuff. And trying to look at yourself in person and having to say, okay, how can I look like this person that I perceive myself to be? I'm pretty sure like that's a whole nother level of it that we didn't have to deal with back then.
We did.
That now you're having to work with these kids on, right?
Yes, because back in our time, we had beepers. And with the beepers, we were actually trying to create words. We had beepers trying to create words from the beepers. But we see all these individuals on social media and these social media platforms and realizing you were not made to look like them. You were made to look like you, and you're here for a reason. So helping them figure out their reason why, their accolades, those things that they're great at, focusing on those strengths allow them to be themselves. And understand that sometimes people may say things to them, but you're talking at me and not talking to me because I know you're not talking to me because I know my worth and I know my value and I'm going to be understood and be heard.
Absolutely. When you talk about mental health and like kids, what is like some of the big misconceptions of it?
Misconceptions of mental health. That if someone decides to see a counselor, they are considered crazy. When you are not, we like to throw out that C word. And I do not like that word. If I hear someone say that word, I say, What we're learning how to do is manage our behaviors because we all if we haven't seen a counselor, I will highly recommend it, because the National Alliance of Mental Illness, they shared 1 out of 5 has some sort of mental illness. But if you think about it now, it's 5 out of 5, because we've all dealt with grief due to COVID.
Right.
We've all dealt with adjustment disorder when schools were closed and our kids were home with us, and we're trying to figure out A day, B day, Z day. We became that teacher, we became that math instructor where we would carry the 1 and the numbers with division, and now they're creating squares and we have no idea what they're doing.
I have no clue how they do this new math now.
So imagine a parent trying to figure that out, in that anxiety, that anger, that frustration. I'm not a great parent because I don't know how to, help my child complete these assignments, and let alone technology. And then parents became caregivers of their parents. So it affected everyone. So it's no longer 1 out of 5. It's actually 5 out of 5.
Yeah, and I guess I consider us being like kind of like, I guess, that middle generation in a way, because like you're saying, like, because like even was having a conversation with my mom, and I'm like, hey, use Instacart. Like, you know what I mean? You can get groceries straight to your doorstep nowadays. Like, why are you calling such and such to give you a ride to such and such? It's like, oh, yeah, well, no, yeah, well, nothing. Like, these resources are there, so I definitely get what you're saying. But then, like you're saying, like, their resources are even more abundant, the young ones, where it's like, wait a minute, what are you doing? What's going on? Where you have to, like you were saying, kind of understanding both. What's the best advice you can have for parents trying to navigate all of that?
Educate yourself and not be afraid to ask questions. A lot of times we get into those situations and we have that sense of embarrassment or shame because we have no idea what they're talking about or what's going on. Ask those questions. Educate yourself. Develop that, we call it our personal board of directors, at least having someone social, spiritual, financial, physical fitness, at least one person in one of those categories. So when you call them, they answer. Yeah. You do not want someone on your personal board of directors if you call them and they have their receipt on their cell phone. So they read that text message, but they did not respond. That is not someone you want on your personal board of directors. Yeah. But having your go-to or your Fab Five. And if we have those questions, ask. And one thing about social media, even though there's some negatives about social media, there's still some positives, because when it comes to mental health, you have more and more people on social media sharing their stories. So it's testing their vulnerability to share their stories, because people are in the same boat scenario as they are, but they're not courageous enough to stand up and say, hey, me too. So with those social media platforms, it actually generates that conversation to talk about mental health.
How do you distinguish? Because you talk about kids growing up, changes, natural changes, puberty, things of that nature. How do you determine what's naturally, just the growth, and what's, is alarming behavior within your child? I guess maybe you should just pay attention to your child and know, but what should you be looking for, and how do you distinguish the difference of that?
Definitely paying attention and looking at those lived experiences, so taking a look back and look at, the past generations too, were there some issues with substance abuse? Were there some issues with schizophrenia? But definitely keeping your eyes open. And if your child has that sense of isolation, that sense of urination, clammy hands, seem to be spaced out in a sense, maybe we need to have that critical and crucial conversation, but it's also the way we approach them. Yeah. We cannot approach them, hey, what's wrong with you? Have that open conversation. And when we come to them with empathy and compassion. So we ask them something and they make something, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're having a moment as a parent. Allow it to stay here, but do not allow them to see it verbally or non-verbally, because that's going to be the last moment, the last opportunity they're going to come to you. Gotcha. So whenever you do approach them, make sure you continue to have that calm demeanor.
So it's handling it really with care, right?
With care and grace.
Gotcha. And when should you know when it's time to get that proper treatment, Before, okay, like you're just talking to me, from when it's like, okay, this is above my head. I was trying to get somebody to step in who is way more experienced than me.
Yes, and definitely being proactive versus reactive. Yeah. Because whenever we get in that reactive state, we have some troubled water. So definitely being proactive, and if there is someone that you're speaking with and you feel like as if they need a higher level of care, help them find that person. Gotcha. Do not tell them, hey, go look on this site and find this, but actually help them, because that'll make them feel even more comfortable whenever they contact that person and make that appointment.
Does music help? I mean, because sometimes you hear like, oh, play calm music. You have the calm app nowadays and things of that nature. Does music help, or is it more of like a, something you Google, it says music, so you try out music?
Yes, music does help. And depending on the different genre of music, depending on the moment that you're in, determines what you're listening to.
Gotcha.
So for me, one of my favorite songs that I love jamming to in the car is Whitney Houston's "I'm Every Woman." Because that gives me energy, and it allows me to realize, hey, in spite of what's going on, we're going to continue to fight, and we're continue going to make it a great day. We're not going to allow that 5, 10, or 15 minutes of that issue concern ruin the rest of your day.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to go. We're going to continue to be blessed, continue to use those positive affirmations. And even in the morning, whenever you're rolling out of bed and we're going to that bathroom, if you can even put some positive affirmations on that bathroom mirror with colorful sticky notes. Because when you go into bathroom, that bathroom is that one place we go to at least twice a day, in the morning and before we go to bed. So when we're getting up in the morning, not feeling our best selves, we can go into that bathroom and we cut that light on, we see that color. And that color brings life, and that color brings excitement. So having those affirmations in that bathroom, but also bringing in some color.
Yeah.
Will
When you're
brighten your
brushing
day.
your teeth or something of that nature, you're like, I'm ready for the day.
Yes.
You're great. Like, yeah. Actually, went to a friend's house and they had like that on the mirror, and I'm like, what's going on here? But now I definitely understand, because some folks even have it even at work, on their desk at work. I know for me personally, I have like a lot of pictures around my desk of just people, who I love, best friends, family, mom, nieces, all that stuff around my desk, just because I just want to be just surrounded within them as I'm, even at work. You know what I mean? So
Yes, and even for your adolescents and juveniles, if you have a son who loves football, purchase some car riders and draw a football in the bathroom mirror, and then put an affirmation in there. If you have someone who likes doll babies, something that they enjoy, to personalize it.
yeah.
Use that.
Some good advice. That's some good advice. Some good advice. I really appreciate that. And then we have a segment also. It's called I Say, You Say. I Say, You Say. So I'm going to say a phrase or a word, right? And then you're going to give a response. But it can't be more than like a word. Okay? Don't go too crazy. All right?
Okay.
You cool? All right, cool. I'm going to skip the first one. Well, I'm going to go back to it. So I say a song you listen to every day. You say.
A song I listen to every day. Bruno Mars, and I would take the entire album.
It's one song. You just press play and just let it run.
Take it, yeah, just let it run.
Just let it run?
Let it run.
I love Bruno Mars too. I actually went and saw him in concert.
I did as well.
Yeah, he is good in concert.
He is.
Yeah, he really puts on a show. And the voice is voicing. Yeah, absolutely. So I say favorite quote, you say.
Oprah Winfrey. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Your ability to triumph begins with you.
How does that stick to you?
It sticks to me because through my lived experiences and my circumstances, I didn't allow it to determine who I was, who I am now, and where I'm going. I actually use it as a motivation to stay encouraged and continue to keep pressing on.
I love that.
Because we're not done yet.
We're not done yet at all. We have plenty of more places to go, people to see, and lives to impact. So I say your future in the Grand Strand. You say.
It's looking bright.
Looking bright. I'm sticking around, huh?
I'm sticking around.
I'm sticking around. And to wrap it up, we get down to like our last thing. We have one more segment that we do. It's called Three Things, right? So, of course, we talked about a little bit of your family. And thanks for being just so transparent about that. I'm pretty sure folks looking at this who probably see you out at the events, smiling and things of that nature, not knowing, things that, you battle every day as well. You know what I mean? I think that really is admirable of you to do that, so that's really, really cool. So 3 things. What are 3 things about you, unrelated to your profession and civil work, that people would be shocked to know? 3 things. Number 1.
I love sushi.
Sushi.
I could see.
What was your favorite roll?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yes. My sriracha, my soy. Yes. Philadelphia roll.
Okay. With cream cheese coming there, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I love all the ones with cream cheese too. Fried or just regular?
Regular.
Just regular? You don't
No
like
fried.
fried?
No.
Why you don't like fried? It fills you up a little bit, but it's good
It's fried.
nonetheless. It's fried. Okay, never mind. I guess it's not real sushi to you. Number 2.
Carolina Panthers.
Carolina Panthers.
They're my go-to.
There's your go-to.
They're my team.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, listen, hopefully you have a good season.
We're in transition.
It's been a little shaky.
Yes, we have
It's been a little
transition in
shaky.
leadership, but as long as those leaders build those relationships, we should be all right. We'll find out tomorrow.
Y'all been having a lot of different leadership though, so I guess we'll see what actually happened, right? All right. And the third thing.
The third thing.
One more.
So sushi, Carolina Panthers, and people know this, but I'm an avid reader.
Avid reader.
Avid reader.
Favorite book?
Brene Brown. Anything Brene Brown.
Anything Brene Brown?
Yes.
How often do you read?
Every morning when I'm on the treadmill.
Really?
Yes.
I cannot read while I'm on the treadmill. So you just walking and just reading?
I was actually reading Psychology Today this morning.
Really?
You have it and you fold it. And then you can even have a pen in.
And just be going?
Yes.
See, that's a lot.
As long as you're walking.
That's a lot of
brisk walk.
doing. Okay, it's a brisk walk.
Yes.
Okay, so it's
And
like
someone
a
made
little.
a comment today at the gym because he was like, oh my gosh, how are you multitasking?
Yeah.
You just do it.
Like when I'm on the treadmill, my mind is focused on I can't even have the numbers in front of me. I have to put up a towel because I don't even want to see the numbers. It's like if I feel like, oh, I ran a mile, it's time to sit down. You know what I mean?
'Cause you will stop, yes.
Yeah. So that's also reading and taking notes and things of that nature is something definitely different. But cool, that's good to know. Sushi, Carolina Panthers, and reading books on treadmills.
Yes.
You gotta love that.
Yes.
You gotta love that.
And giving back to the community, but that's what I enjoy. And as you mentioned earlier, some people always say, wow, Jessica, how do you do so much?
Yeah.
It's because I love what I do. And you're able to, if there's something going on, you have to manage your time. So you have to, if something's going on, what you do is block it off and you work your way around it. But when you do that, just make sure it's something that is important to you. Not something you're attending just to attend or something you're doing just to do, and you're not able to give 100% or all into it.
Gotcha. So making sure you're moving with intent.
Moving with intent.
Yeah.
And whenever you actually put something in your agenda, make sure you mark it in pen. Because a lot of times we'll mark things that we're doing for other people in pen, but something that we're doing for ourselves in pencil. Because it's easier to erase what we're doing for ourselves and do things for other people. So definitely whenever we're marking our calendar, make sure we're writing in pen. And if someone asks you to do something, and it could be attending a track meet with your son, and someone asks you to do something at that same time, they don't have to know it's a track meet. All you have to do is tell them, hey, I have an appointment already scheduled at 4:30.
Yeah.
You know that's my son's track meet, but they do not know.
Yeah.
But that's your time.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. And for me in private practice, I always take a look at the calendar. So if there are 5 Mondays, 5 Tuesdays, or 5 Wednesdays in the month, I'll call them my bonus days. So those days I'm making extra income, but if I do not work those days, I'm still okay. So I call those bonus days because, hey, if I want to take a vacation or go somewhere a couple of days, I have the opportunity to, but it's not going to affect my income.
Listen. Leave it right there. Some good advice to leave people on. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jessica Greene. We really appreciate you. One last thing, though. Could you look into this camera right here and let the folks know your name and tell them that you're next?
My name is Dr. Jessica Greene, and I am next.
Next, right. Woo, woo. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Fist pump again. Appreciate you so much for being here with us. And thank you so much for joining us as well on Who's Next with Derrion Henderson. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation, this podcast with Dr. Jessica Greene. Maybe helped you learn something about yourself and also maybe help your child or your family as well. That's what we like to do on this podcast. And definitely as we recognize Mental Health Awareness Month here in the month of May. We have a lot of more guests coming up here. Of course, we want to thank the Salt and Detox Oasis here in Myrtle Beach. They're located at 3885 Renee Drive. Come check them out. If you want to talk to somebody or you just want to just chill and just come one within yourself. We all got to enjoy that, right? Of course we do. We'll see you right here on next time. Make sure you subscribe and also follow me on social media at DerrionLH.